Okay, so we've created our configuration files, and what I want to do now is actually make the directory. So I'm going to do sudo mkdir and zones, not zones, but zones, and I need to go into that directory. And just to be sure that I match up the file names, I'm going to cat etc bind and the name.conf.local file that we just created with Nano. So when I make these database files, I need to match them up and make sure. So ultimatebattlestars.com.db, yes I know, it's dorktacular, but hey, we must have some fun. So I'm going to do, need root privileges, sudo nano, and I'm going to do ultimatebattlestars.com.db because it's tradition to postfix it with a database. Now the way this file would start out, I'm going to have the $sign and a default time to live, or TTL, in this case 3 days. And now the next thing I'm going to do is set up my start of authority, or SOA, not SOL, haha, but SOA, and it's going to be my host name, pegasus.ultimatebattlestars.com, and I'm going to postfix that with a period. And then I'm going to have admin.ultimatebattlestars.com and postfix that with a period. And just to be consistent, let me make that a lowercase a there. Okay, and I'm going to add an opening parenthesis and a closing parenthesis and a semicolon. So this is sort of the raw body for passing in the parameter list for my forward lookup zone. And now the parameters for that parameter list. And this is out of my server, so the first is a serial number. And it's 2, oops, number lock wasn't on. Let me go back here. Alright, number lock's on 2007 031, and it was 001. And I'm just going to put a semicolon there, and you can put comments after a semicolon. That sort of denotes a comment, but I want to put a comment after that. And then the next one, that was the serial. So every time there's a zone transfer, and zones copied from primary to secondary, or read-only, or read-write to the read-only, the master to the slave, we would want to increment the serial. There's a refresh, 28800, and alternatively, I could do this. I could say 8 hours if I wanted to. Alright, so that's, we'll try the alternative way here. 3600 is the next value, but I'm going to do 4 hours. Alright, just to show you, so I could do it that way as well. So you could specify, but you can tweak these later, but I would kind of go with default settings until you get this up and working, up and running. And that way you can narrow down the possibilities or the things that could be wrong in your diagnostics. So to go with the defaults on my server, 28800 for the refresh, and 3600 on the retry, and 604800 on the expire, and 38400 on the minimum. Okay, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters total there. So just kind of make sure, semicolons after all these guys, no semicolon on this one. And now that kind of completes my parameter list. So now let's go ahead and add some records to our forward lookup zone. Yay! And the first thing I want to do is the domain, ultimatebattlestars.com, and I want to postfix a dot onto that. I'm going to insert this as a name server record, and it's going to be my host name, pegasus.ultimatebattlestars.com, and end that with a period or a dot there. pegasus.ultimatebattlestars.com. Next thing I'm going to do is add an A record for the DNS server itself. How considerate. So there's my host name. I'm going to insert it as an A record, and it's 199.207.13.100, remember? So there's the Pegasus. The next thing I'm going to do is add an A record for Old Faithful, the Galactica. Of course, if you have the Pegasus, and you must have the Galactica. And I'm going to insert it as an A record, and I'm going to specify 199.207.13.110. And the method to my madness here, I mean, I could do 101, 102 sequentially, but I'm thinking maybe later on down the line, I may want to add up to 9 more additional statically configured servers, or servers with static IP addresses. And then later I may choose to make these clients get their IPs over DHCP. So that just leaves me room for that if I decide to do that later. So there's the Pegasus, the Galactica, and we're going to make a Windows host just to show that we can network Windows or use a BIND DNS server. I'm just going to call this Germany XP. Alright, that'll be the host name. We're going to insert an A record, and we're going to make it 199.207.13.115. That'll be our IP address on Germany XP. XP Professional Machine. And then just for the purpose of adding one more kind of record, we've done NS, a name server, and A records. Let's look at adding an alias. And let's say that we were going to install a web server on the Galactica. If I were going to do that, I could add what's called a CNAME, an alias record, or a canonical name. And the neat thing about these is I don't have to map it to an IP. I can actually map it to a previously defined A record. So, Galactica. Alright, and that's just an alias or another name for Galactica. My server knows that. And I'm kind of, I don't know, this kind of freaks me out. It bothers my psychotic, obsessive, compulsive nature. So I'm going to kind of just space and tab these over a little bit to make them nice little columns. Yeah, I know. Pathetic, isn't it? Okay, so with this all done, take a look at your forward lookup zone database file and make sure that everything matches up. Check your parameters and values, check your syntax, your host name, ultimatebattlestars.com, and with a period, ultimatebattlestars.com, and with a period, it looks good, looks good. Terminating semicolons, parameters, ultimatebattlestars.com, and with a period, yes, good. Pegasus host name, ultimatebattlestars.com, and with a period. The A records look good, they match up, the IP addresses match, everything looks okay. Now you're ready to save. Whoopee! Control X, and let's do Y. Let's go ahead and save, and I hit the Enter key. Now the next thing I want to do, that file had to match this file for the forward lookup zone. Well, my next file has to match this, my reverse lookup zone. So here's what I called it down here under the file name. So it's going to be rev.0.207.199.in-addr and then .arpa. Alright, so again, remember this has to match exactly. rev.0.207.199.in-addr.arpa, and that's what I called it up here, 207.199. So they have to match up. That being said and verified, I'm going to hit enter to go ahead and create the file. And the reverse lookup zone is much like the forward lookup zone, at least syntax-wise, and then the records will simply be the inverse. Remember, this is Bizarro Superman. If the other one was Superman, this is Bizarro World, Bizarro Superman. So I'm going to have the string operator specify a TTL, and again, 3 days as the default time to live. I need to set up my start of authority. Alright, so SOA Pegasus is my, get my host name. ultimatebattlestars.com. Postfix with a dot is, in this case, there's my fully qualified domain name. And then admin.ultimatebattlestars.com. Okay, and again, I want to postfix that with a period. I'm going to open a parenthesis, I'm going to close a parenthesis, and I'm going to add a semicolon, and now I'm ready to pass in my parameters. And again, since we previously explained this, to save time, we won't explain it, we'll just go through it. If you forgot, there's always rewind, and 0310001 was my serial number, and that was a semicolon. Then I could add comments to that if I wanted after the semicolon. 28800, and then 604.800 a semicolon, and 604.800 and a semicolon. And then last but not least, I want to do 86.400. Okay? So in that file, using those parameters. So how quickly things go when you don't explain them. So anyway, insert, and I'm going to do a name server record. And again, I'm going to specify my host name, Pegasus.ultimatebattlestars.com, and I'm going to postfix that with a dot. Okay? And then it might be considerate or convenient to go ahead and insert a pointer record for the DNS server itself. And were I to do that, it would, the domain, it would simply be pegasus.ultimatebattlestars.com. Alright, and I'll end that with a period. And then we had the Galactica 110, if you remember. I'm going to add a pointer record for that. And that was galactica.ultimatebattlestars.com. I don't know. I'm having fun. How about you? I guess not if you have a life. But okay, so Pegasus, the Galactica. The next one I'm going to do was the Germany XP. And that was the 115. Okay, and then finally we had set up just sort of an alias for our gateway. Remember that was 1, so I'll do a pointer record for that. And that was gateway.ultimate. Can't type now. Ultimate. Getting too excited at ultimatebattlestars.com. It's just too exciting. I can't deal with it. It's awesome. Alright, ultimatebattlestars.com. Alright, so we set up some pointer records and a name server record there. And that'll cover sort of our windows, and we just want to make sure that for every A record we have a matching pointer record. So I want to verify things again. TTL, my syntax, start of authority, hostname, ultimatebattlestars.com. Postfix or enter with a period. Admin, ultimatebattlestars.com. Looks good. Open parenthesis, close parenthesis. Parameters followed by semicolons. Check your syntax here. Make sure there are periods after everything. And now I'm going to hit Control, root -X, Control X, and yes. And I'm going to hit Enter to save. Okay? And I'm just going to cat my forward lookup zone and make sure. So I have A records, Galactica, Germany XP, and Pegasus.